months. Talk about gearing up for 2016, which is, I think we have our eye on probably a little bit prematurely, but that's something that you're going to be popping up consistently ahead of 2014. And then just kind of talking through kind of what our proactive legislative agenda is, where I think we have a really good story to talk about on the federal level, but also I think that dovetails with some actions that are happening in the state. With the Affordable Care Act, what we're really leaning into in a big way, and today was kind of a big day for, is talking about what the cost of repeal is. The Republicans have a health care plan. It's to repeal the Affordable Care Act. We feel, and polling has shown, that giving Republicans, saying that Republicans don't have a plan is almost giving them too much credit. They have a real clear plan that's to bring back pre-existing condition clauses, bring back lifetime caps, allowing people to kick people off their health care plans, and really put insurance companies in the driver's seat. The White House this morning released 50 state reports on the impact of repeal. So it's everything that would be taken away from folks. And that runs the gamut from states that have done Medicaid expansion to just number of people benefiting from various provisions like staying on to your parents' health plan until you're 26. So I think what you're going to see is, as the Affordable Care Act works, as people enroll more, as we get through the initial enrollment bumps that'll probably pop up early next year, it'll be smoother, more people will be enrolling, and we'll have a much more compelling story to tell. And Republicans are still going to be singularly focused on repeal, so we're going to want to really continue to drive that and highlight that. Now, I don't think that we're going to be, touting, campaigning on Obamacare in a lot of places. But I think we're going to be talking about the benefits of the health care law in real terms that will actually help us persuade voters. I'd like to talk about that at the end of this. With 2016, looking forward to the presidential race, I think you're going to start to see more potential presidential candidates on the Republican side and our side start to travel the country more. When that's Chris Christie or Scott Walker or Bobby Jindal or Donald Trump, who's now heading up to New Hampshire again, we're going to want to engage with folks at state parties to continue to push back on them and hit these Republicans where there are opportunities, especially someone like Chris Christie, who's going to be traveling to the Republican Governors Association. When he's in Wisconsin, we're going to want to hit Scott Walker and his mandatory ultrasound legislation and tie Chris Christie to that. When he goes to, campaign for Nikki Haley, we're going to want to hit ethics issues. When he hits campaigns for Tom Corbett or Paul LePage, we're going to want to and vice versa, and continue to drive those points home. Federally, and with the Obama administration, looking forward, we have a whole host of issues that will hopefully move on. The three biggest ones being the minimum wage. There was an ABC News poll out today that found that 68% of the American people support raising the minimum wage. This is something that's incredibly popular. It's a real core Democratic Party belief, and it's a winning campaign issue. This is something that there's state legislation that's moving as well. So this is something from kind of top to bottom of the Democratic Party, isn't it? We're talking about that we're campaigning on, and we should continue to paint Republicans on the wrong side of. Immigration reform, obviously, is huge. There's kind of a sense that might move in the mid-spring after. I mean, it's really up to John Boehner. He can move on it whenever he wants, but there's a sense that they're more likely to vote on it after filing deadlines for Republican House members, so they don't have to be afraid of getting primaried. I'm not sure if that's just one theory that's popping around, but that's something that we should continue to keep pressure on. And again, that's something that north of 60–65% of the American people support common sense immigration reform with a pathway to citizenship. So that's something that we should talk about endlessly, legislatively, politically, and try to localize that as much as possible. EDNA, the Employee Non-Discrimination Act, is another piece of legislation that is sitting on John Boehner's desk. Right now in some states, employers can fire employees for just for being gay, or for a host of other issues, or other other views or what have you. That needs to be passed. It's, again, something that's popular. It's the right thing to do, and we should be hammering Republicans on it day in and day out. So that speaks to kind of what our proactive agenda is as far as minimum wage, immigration reform, and in addition, and those are things that are sitting on the House, on John Boehner's desk that can be acted on right away, let alone various job legislation and infrastructure improvement legislation that should still be taken up. One other bit of this for next year is going to be talking about the Republican rebrand. And again, we have a really good story to tell on a lot of these issues, whether it's women's health or voting rights, or outreach to the various communities of color and to other groups. In the Senate, they're going to vote on a 20-week abortion ban, or they're going to try to vote on that next year. That already passed the House. Reince Priebus over at the RNC earlier this week came out in support of a 16-week abortion ban. I mean, this is some of the most restrictive anti-choice legislation that's popped up in probably 15, 20 years. So this, I think, kind of really speaks to the heart of the GOP's failure to rebrand and change their ways, as they promised to do last year. So we're getting to the point where it's about a year from their rebrand. So we're going to really want to look for opportunities to hammer home. I don't think there's a state out there where Republicans haven't had to resign or apologize for hateful, offensive comments in the last 6 months. I mean, the last week there have been instances of this in North Carolina, Oklahoma, Maine, all over the place, Michigan, where people have said awful things about women, homosexuals. There was a Oklahoma state senator resigned last night because it came out that he had been found guilty of rape, and he said that he had to resign because in this climate he was forced to. I don't think that it's the climate. I think it's his actions that forced that. So we want to kind of think of ways to creatively drive that message and talk about how Republicans just haven't changed. We saw that work very successfully in the Virginia midterm elections a couple months ago in November. I think with that, I just wanted to kind of quickly go over everything and then just kind of open up for questions, see what folks are thinking about what's going on in the coming year, and how some of this stuff might play out to our advantage in your states. So with that, I think we'll open up to questions.
Thanks, Mike. And if you have a question, you are welcome to click the raise your hand icon on your GoToMeeting module, and we'll get you unmuted. Or you can also type your questions in the questions box at the bottom of your module. But clicking the raise your hand icon is probably quicker for folks out there. So feel free to do either, and we will get you unmuted, and we'll leave a couple minutes now for questions. And just as we're waiting for the field to open for questions, for those of you who may have them, you can click the raise your hand icon, or you can type in the questions box. I just want to remind you, as we have at the end of these webinars, there'll be a evaluation that'll come to your inbox that'll give you an opportunity to give some feedback regarding how you enjoyed this webinar, or any additional feedback you'd like to give us about trainings you'd like to see in the future. Additionally, there was a training survey link that went out in the weekly email that you probably received this afternoon. That is also an opportunity to collect some feedback from you as to some of your ideas for training in the year 2014. So make sure that you take an opportunity to do that here, hopefully before you depart for the holidays. There's 2 questions here in our question queue. The first question we have is, was there a mention of an Oklahoma senator in your remarks earlier, and was there any backstory there?
Yeah, I believe it was in Oklahoma that a state senator, state representative resigned a day or two ago for being found guilty of rape some years ago, and that just came to light, so he resigned. So I believe that was Oklahoma.
Thanks, Mike. And the second question we have here in the queue is, can you talk a little bit more about what you think the narrative around immigration may look like in the coming year?
Yeah, I think that this is going to be interesting because a lot of Republican outside groups supported it, especially groups of the Chamber of Commerce and these more moderate traditional groups. The only thing stopping it is Boehner putting it up for a vote, or going to passing something else and going to a conference committee. So it's really an issue that if pressure builds and continues to build in the coming months, there's no reason it can't get done. There are the votes in the House to pass it if they put it up for a vote today. It wouldn't, and it would pass probably with a minority of Republican votes, but with a healthy majority of votes in total. So I think that there'll be a lot of outside groups. I think the White House will be continue to talk about this next year. So they just need to there just needs to be a critical mass of activity to persuade Boehner to just put this up for a vote. So he's really the only thing stopping this from moving forward. I mean, the fact is that we're for it because it's the right policy. Republicans need to be for it because it's the right politics for them. They're going to continue to be a minority party in presidential elections unless they actually open up and be a more inclusive party. But I think that the more narrow-minded folks who unfortunately are calling the shots in the House don't see it that way and are fine continuing to talk to a smaller and smaller electorate. So I think that this is something that we can help amplify, and we can continue to put pressure on them. But a lot of this is just is going to just come down to what Boehner sees and what he thinks is the right way forward.
Thanks, Mike. And as we round out our webinar here, if you have questions, feel free to type them in the questions box, or you can click the raise your hand icon, which may be quicker. They're in your GoToMeeting module. All right, and seeing no additional questions here in the questions box or with our raise your hand icon, seems like no one's indicated they have additional questions. We want to thank National Press Secretary Michael Zen for talking to us about some of the communications insights for the year 2014. I hope that those of you who have additional questions won't hesitate to reach out and see if we can't get you more guidance or more materials regarding your specific questions. When you receive your evaluations for this webinar, please do take an opportunity to fill it out and let us know what you thought about today's webinar. Additionally, to have feedback about how we can provide better training to the state, please do submit that information, and we look forward to receiving it from you. As this is our last webinar of the 2013 year, I want to thank each and every one of you who have logged on, whose staff have logged on to be a part of this webinar program. We certainly look forward to more great webinars in the year 2014 with your support and with your help. We can certainly do that. Many thanks to our President, Chairman Raymond Buckley. The Association of State Democratic Executive Directors has been very instrumental in pulling this together. So thank you all in the states for your support. Have a wonderful holiday weekend. A holiday week for many of you, and happy holidays. Thanks, everyone. Talk to you.